Okay, we're back with the Board of County Commissioners. One quick update from a discussion earlier from our attorney. We were talking about, Senator Wilson was talking about local ordinance based on Blake. It appears our sheriff, our prosecuting attorney, they were already in those type of discussions. They'll be coordinating with the county and the city so that what we draft will make sense for the whole county. So there is some work already started on that. Any updates from either of my colleagues before I open it to the public?
No.
Okay, we're open for public comments. If you want to. And thank you for your patience.
So your word there, Commissioner, can you please push on the schedule so that the public will know when there are some work sessions or whatever we want to participate?
Yeah, anything that comes our way and gets scheduled, we'll try and make sure that gets out. Or I won't try and make sure, I'll make sure that gets out. Morning.
Chairman Dahl, Commissioners. Thank you for the record. My name is Mike Wallen. I'm a resident of Longview. I'm the Government Affairs Director of the Lower Columbia Association of Realtors, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the significance of fair housing again. As you may know, your colleagues in Wahkiakum County and Pacific County have adopted proclamations of fair housing, and those proclamations and every city in the 3 jurisdictional area have adopted similar proclamations. Ilwaco, Long Beach, Raymond, South Bend, Cathlamet, Castle Rock, Kalama, Kelso, Longview, and Woodland have all adopted proclamations of fair housing. This isn't about do's and don'ts. It's not about realtors or realtor party. This is about the people who live, work, who play in our communities having equal opportunity to fair housing. So I would ask you once again, please reconsider adopting fair housing proclamation for the residents of Cowlitz County. On February 12th, I reached out to Commissioner Weber. He acknowledged and expressed support of the fair housing proclamation and encouraged me to reach out to the board to find a second commissioner to support the fair housing proclamation. Commissioner Dahl, thank you. You agreed to support the fair housing proclamation at that time. And later, subsequently on the March 21st meeting, you did follow through and support the fair housing proclamation. Thank you for your support of fair housing at the March 21st meeting. We're asking you to reconsider because of Commissioner Weber's absence on important county meeting dealing with our sediment retention dam issue. He was called away on that March 21st meeting, not able to be present to take action on the fair housing proclamation. Commissioner Mortensen abstaining from his duties to participate in this government allowed the fair housing proclamation of all things to fail. We would ask you to reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you bringing this back to our attention. It is more serious than some people might assume, only because we have had a legacy of racial segregation by zoning, particularly in the city of Longview. And that's something that still lingers, that the assumption is that there are some unfair treatment of people in their pursuit of housing opportunities. So it just occurs to me that this is one more tool simply to remind people that we do live in the 21st century. We're not back with values from the 19th century where it might have been acceptable to have segregated housing. We've moved on beyond that. And I would certainly be willing to sign on a fair housing proclamation.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Renee Forsberg. I'm a local real estate agent with RE/MAX, and I am also an RPAC member. I'm also a member of the community. I live in Longview, and I'd like to dial this down quite a bit. As I listened to the entire commissioners meeting, I see a pattern of social and economic issues in this community. And when I think about line number 4 of this proclamation and how something as simple as asking for support for people like myself and my constituents, as well as our community, to go out and serve the many, many needs that we're identifying in the housing market, the rental market, and just living that directly relate to so many of the other problems that you have identified in this community. I'm wondering why we're still waiting to vote on this and get it passed. It's simply just an affirmative, yes, we recognize that this is something important. We're not asking for money. We're not asking for anything other than community support to go out and do what absolutely unequivocally needs to be done in our community. The fact that I spent 3 days driving to South Bend and Raymond to talk to mayors and council members where there were no active participants willing to speak about anything and get sign off from people in communities that don't necessarily have those problems, then come to a community that I live in and we can't get a proclamation approved. This is something that is huge. It's important and it directly affects every single aspect of the other problems that you are facing and addressing in this community. Personally, I'm not an expert in all things, but I do know a lot. And I do know that this is a direct reflection of our ability to move forward in our local government and in our communities. Please reconsider. And I appeal to you, give us the grace that we need to go out and make sure that people do have fair housing opportunities, not just by color, but by gender, sexual orientation, and disability. I'm going to take a second and give you an example of something that just happened with a client. On Friday, I closed a home for a woman that is a single mother of 4 children, was in a terrible domestic violence relationship. The police were called. She was evicted from her apartment with 40 days to find a place. There is no housing for rentals, certainly not for people that have a modest income. She was able to get financing and purchase a home. She had 40 days to find a house. If it wasn't for the fact that she had to quit claim the abusive husband off in order to be able to buy the home, if it wasn't for the ability for people to work directly with her and ensure that she had the proper and adequate rooms for all of the people in her homes, if we weren't looking at solving problems and finding wonderful solutions, she wouldn't be a homeowner as of Friday. She purchased a very modest house in South Kelso. It was not her dream home, but it was a home that afforded her everything she needed. She's just one example of each and every person in this community that we can help. And that helps you because those people aren't on social media blasting county commissioners. They're not blasting our city. They're actually seeing results directly related to this proclamation and what we're asking. And I'm appealing to you, each one of you, to please use your vote for the better good here. This is a no-brainer. We're not asking for money. We're asking for your support. And I personally appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak and, more importantly, the opportunity to revisit this issue and sign off on it. Every other constituent has. It's sad that we're having this conversation again, and I'm grateful for your time. Thank you.
I just wanted to come up and thank Kelly for the quick response. She sent it to the right people. I emailed her this week about funding for the turf, and she got all the information to me within an hour or two. It was amazing. Got great staff.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Some familiar faces, so thank you for letting me come up and share. My name is John Trussell, and I've been a mortgage loan officer here in Cowlitz County for 17 years, of which I've lived here in Cowlitz County for 40 years of my life. I just wanted to share, I get to see what fair housing provides borrowers on an everyday basis. I get to see how, as a borrower, you get a chance to purchase a home and grow that wealth and have that opportunity that they may not have had. And as a lender, fair housing is woven into the fabric of my job every single day. I would hope, Mr. Dahl, it's in your fabric too. And I hope that you would be able to share with the rest of the board, the commissioners, that how important it is to have this support in our community and share that. So thank you for the opportunity, and I hope you have a chance to revisit this and join the rest of the community here in Southwest Washington.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Brad Whitaker. My wife and I live downtown Longview, and we own the Realty One Group office on Commerce. I just wanted to read to you, just real briefly. In 1968, the Fair Housing Act was enacted into law, recognizing that no American should have their right to purchase or rent shelter of choice abridged because of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Listening to what we've heard so far here in this commissioners meeting, I can't understand why any one of you would not want to sign this proclamation. And if you don't, I would certainly be interested in finding out what part of this proclamation you are not interested in signing. Thank you.
Comments?
Yeah, I'd like to address the gentleman's last question. It's curious to me, when I first came to the country, I didn't speak English too well at all. I was labeled as a spick. I was pushed around, all kinds of nice situations that you can imagine. And furthermore, I had a rather severe speech problem, which is, I've improved on it a lot, but it is still evident. And I was fat and I wore glasses and I didn't know what baseball was. I mean, I knew what it was, but totally different. And I've got all these people that have vested interests in real estate advocating these things, this proclamation. I don't see anybody not in real estate advocating that. And I also know that the people I've talked to are not at all, they don't think they see any discrimination. I don't know. Then I look at the Morgan Freeman with Dan Rather interview. Most of us have seen that. And it's pretty clear that as long as we continue to claim and try to make distinctions between groups, that this will not die away. Recently, there's a video that PragerU put together. It's a fellow named Xavier DuRousseau, also Black, as well as Morgan Freeman, that we know is Black. And they call it kind of like it is, not like you would like it to be, not like having a rally cry that you're trying to instill upon us. The idea of no-brainer was offered. I mean, frankly, if I were of the offending type, I would find that offensive. And give us the grace. None of these things make any sense. They're just polarizing, and that's what I'm against, is polarization. I am quite familiar with some of the Mexicans in the county, and I don't think they see a problem in a variety of areas where we see a problem. And I remind you what Groucho Marx said there is what politics is trying to find a problem. Then finally, maybe the more complicated issue is when we have a proclamation that is for battered women or something like that, that is actually a generic PSA. There is nobody profiting from that, at least not trying to advocate why we should have that. There's no self-aggrandizement involved in there. When I read the proclamation here, it's by an entity, a business entity, trying to take advantage of propaganda for its advantage. I just don't like that. I don't think we, the government, should be involved in those kinds of issues. So that's my answer to your question.
I suppose I'll speak on this. I've spoken on it a few times. It's not an issue of Commissioner Mortensen and I disagree. I mean, I didn't have an issue with the proclamation. But what I do, and I've demonstrated it in the past, is we made a decision whether everybody was here or they weren't here. It doesn't matter to me. The board made a decision, and I try to honor those decisions, whether I agree with them or not. You've seen me do it in the past when it comes to Meals on Wheels. There was a contract that was put in place before my time. I may or may not have agreed with the contract, but it was in place, so I'm going to honor that. And so I have nothing against the proclamation. I don't think having it is going to give any more people homes. As John mentioned, I've been in that business. I know about HMDA reports. I know all the filing and all the legal stuff that you have to do to show that you don't discriminate against anybody. So the proclamation itself is not going to put people in homes. The realtors and lenders abiding by the law and just by their God-given good nature that they want to help people, put people in homes. A few words on a paper don't. So I don't have an issue with the proclamation. What I have an issue with is do-overs. If it was on the other side of the fence and a deal would have gone in the way, and I said, okay, I'll revisit it, then I'm going to get the same flack from the other. What are you doing? You've already made a decision. So I try to stand by what we've done, and that's what I'm going to do here.
So you would not accept a motion to approve the proclamation as submitted?
I wouldn't.
I would raise a point of order. Was a motion actually made before to not approve it? Or was it left on the table as such? Because nobody made the motion.
Well, I'd have to look back through the minutes, but I'm pretty sure there was a motion to approve, and I voted in favor, and Commissioner Mortensen, I don't know. I don't remember if you abstained or you said no. I will point out, I wasn't chair at the time. I didn't put it on the agenda. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Now that everybody's asleep and not paying attention, now's your chance to sell Riverside Park. It happened at the city council in Kelso with the Tam O'Shanter when there was nobody listening, and a motion came up to sell Tam O'Shanter, and I think the next meeting they lynched the whole city council. Anyway, I'll be brief. This concerned a letter to Senator Wilson. He really didn't go into it. Again, we're back to the railroad right away, but I just have 2 points in the letter. And let me read them as is in the letter. The Cowlitz Board of County Commissioners currently have no interest in acquiring this property for a rail to trail program. But yet, when you want to renew this item, notice of interim trail use, I guess you call it NIT2, you will not renew the NIT2, according to the Board of County Commissioners, will not be granted without the following key paragraph in request for a NIT2. And I'll read: the Board of County Commissioners of Cowlitz County, Washington, Cowlitz County is willing to assume full responsibility. And there are 3 numbered items saying you'll manage the right of way, take any legal liability arising out of the transfer or use for the right of way. And 3, the payment of any and all taxes that may be levied or assessed against the right of way. So in the first paragraph, you say you have no interest, but in the body, if you renew this NITU, you're going to assume full liability. Now, I know Commissioner Mortensen is favorable to using popular media terms like Groucho Marx, and I believe you used the time machine, which was in H.G. Wells. You mentioned the troglodytes. Well,
The Morlocks.
Morlocks, yeah, I'm familiar with it. Of course, H.G. Wells' most famous book is 1984 about doublespeak.
No, that's Orwell.
That's what I just said. George Orwell. Well, anyway, I'm kind of confused about these 2 paragraphs. And then again, the map wasn't included of what you wanted in the right of way, as in the additional letter. And I assume this came from the county commissioners. We're not sure about the last letter. But the cover letter submitted by your county clerk, Ms. Dombrowski, I believe, and then submitted for Dombrowski, clerk of the board. So I guess it came from all 3 commissioners, but it's not signed yet. Is that true?
It wasn't sent out until we aired it today. And it will go out with 1 opposed and 2 signatures on it.
Okay. And, you know, I made this comment before. All the legal sightings, the United States Code and 49 CFR, which deals with the U.S. Department of Transportation, they're all federal. And when you receive a right of way, you can always get more benefit if you go federal, because that trumps state law if it's under federal jurisdiction. So I'm kind of curious as to why, I guess Senator Wilson is looking for other interested parties, but they don't list who they are. So that was that letter. Now, going on advice of Commissioner Weber, we had a conversation about a lodging tax. And I started at the assessor's office and they looked through their computer system. They have no mention of lodging tax with the 2 PDAs, the one from Longview and the one that the county has. Well, they suggested, why don't you go to the treasurer's office? And I said, you know, the auditor said, go to the treasurer's office. And they said, we have no answer. We only deal with property tax. So that's when I came to the commissioner's office and you were the only one present. And you suggested, well, go over to the county PDA at the fairgrounds. Well, there were 3 people present, a temp, a regular secretary, and another secretary that was looking at the computer screen. And I said, well, Commissioner Weber sent me over here. And well, the first one said the temp, she was a temp, she didn't know anything. And she went to the second secretary, she didn't know anything. And the one that was looking at the computer screen, I don't have any time to help you. Well, I said, Commissioner Weber sent me over here and she said, good luck with that. Now, I think the previous president of the United States, he would use the term, you're fired, correct? Well, I took your advice and they used to call it the bum's rush years ago. Well, we don't want to deal with him. We'll pass the buck to somebody else. And Cowlitz County should change their name to the Pass Buck County. Well, Anyway, and to answer your question, Commissioner Dahl, we had a rather lively discussion about the bar that's going to be placed on top of the hotel at, well, finally got the minutes, and I had to wait to their second meeting of the year from the Longview Public Development Authority, which I'm kind of confused, talking to Commissioner Weber, why, well, go to the Columbia Theater. Well, that's not county. Longview has their own Public Development Authority. And here's what's coming. This is an exact statement, so it's a public record, which can be amended, the minutes of the public organization, which would be the Longview PDA. The hotel will include 88 units on 4 floors with a rooftop bar. Well, and that's coming, you'll look at, there'll be a purchase and sales agreement on May 26, 2013, because of conflict of scheduling with the Longview PDA. And another thing, it includes at the bottom, they're going to have a roundtable discussion about including a sports and equestrian of a center. So the special interests, the sports people and the horse people, they've been taken care of. So, and I'll close with this. This is the boundary review board that governor appointed Marcel Goulet. Is that how would you pronounce it? Well, the only sentence is mid-part. As you know, the public sets high professional and ethical standards for those in public office, just like the 3 secretaries over at the county PDA. That's a real high standard. Oh, and you're talking about, I take it, Commissioner Weber, you still live in Longview? In the old west side? Well, me and I was in the fire service. This comes from when you were on the city council in Longview, you were mayor. This is what the fire chief thinks of the senior citizens. They cause too much strain on his service. Great statement. Headlines, I love it. I guess we should, if we're all, over retirement age, we should all die, right? According to the fire chief. That's all I have.
Any other? I don't see any hands. Any final statements from my colleagues? No? Okay, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you.